Hare Krishna, Dandavat, Teres.
Hare Krishna.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yes, we are doing fine. How is
Good.
our friend
He's,
Ingoji?
do- he's doing well.
We have
He's
not
doing,
seen him for quite some time now.
yes, he comes and goes. He
Okay.
has he has
You are
um
mostly in the room or you are going out?
um I've been going out more than I was before.
Dandavat Mar.
Hare Bol,
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Dandavad Pranam Maharaj.
Dhanyavad, Oma Devi.
Dandavad Pranam Maharaj.
Sorry, I'm a little late today.
You are feeling okay, Maharaj?
Not really.
What happened? Sugar, Maharaj?
Some problem, yeah.
Oh. Eye is okay, Maharaj, after the eye drop, everything?
It seems to be.
Okay, Maharaj.
Seems to be okay. What happened? Oh.
Joan Walton contacted me. She had, some problems with her daughter is having some, thyroid cancer.
Oh dear.
So, means he has to get operated in 10 days time. And she was, facing a lot of difficulties because she has to take care of the kids of her daughter. And she invited few scientists to our event, she was saying. And the head of the scientific medical network in London, David Lorimer, he was willing to speak in our event.
Okay.
And one scientist from Harvard, she is contacting for speaking in our event. Rasraj Prabhu, how is Kusum Didi? Any news?
Yeah.
Well,
What do you have? What news do you have?
well, the last 2 weeks she went to the emergency room. She said was not feeling well, that the red blood cells were very low. And they said he was feeling better. This week I said going for physical therapy. But I really didn't speak to her. Just send me some messages.
Yeah.
Biswajit was contacting me. Maybe he don't have, the Chonga information.
It was shared on the Skype group. He's a part of the Skype group.
Let me call him.
It shows that he looked at it.
So, Rasaraj Prabhu, would you like to lead the kirtan?
Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Do you start right now?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. Who else said they were joining? Sana?
Haven't heard from Zana.
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya
Jaya Shri Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya
Jaya
Shri
Shri
Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta
Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya
Jaya
Shri
Jaya
Shri Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Prabhu
Srivastava
Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda.
Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya
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 Shri
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri
Shri
Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Ram
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai
Nitai
Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo,
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai
Nitai
Gaura
Gaura
Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo,
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai
Nitai Gaura
Gaura
Hari Bol.
Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo.
Jaya Jaya Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Jaya Jaya Guru Dev.
Jaya
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 Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Jaya Jaya Guru Dev.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Jaya Jaya Guru Dev.
Jaya
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 Gurudev,
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 Gurudev, Jaya
Gurudev,
Jaya
Guru.
Gurudev. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev ki Jai.
Jai,
Jai Giri Gopal ki Jai.
Jai,
Jai Gaur
Oh, Jai
Premanandi,
Sai.
Hari 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 Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the
Hare
worldwide
Krishna,
devotees.
Krishna,
All
Hare
Premanandi,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hari 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 Bol.
एवं विष्णुपाद परमंश पर जगत गुरु श्री भक्ति माधव पुरी महाराज की जय।
Ki Jai.
Jai Santa Maharaj, Muni Maharaj, Rasaraj Prabhu, Jai Prabhu, Kanapriya Devi, and Teresa,
Krishna Keshav Prabhu.
Oma Devi, Krishna Kesava Prabhu, and who else was there?
योगेश्वर,
Yogeshwar Prabhu, Hari Bol. Is that, what's his name? The V is
विश्वजीत,
Vishwajit. Jai, Vishwajit ki Jai. And Ajay Prabhu ki Jai. So page 38, huh?
Yes.
What are you going to do? Huh? It's okay, just put it in the cup. Okay, put it in the cup, it's okay. Then page 38, Vandana. Vandeham Shri
वंदे
Guru
हम श्री
Sri
गुरु
Guru
श्रीयुता पदकमलम
Yuta Padakamalam
Shri Guru
श्री गुरु
Vaishnava
वैष्णवांश्च
Vaishnavamcha
Sri
श्रीरूपं
Rupam
Nirupam
Sagrajatam
Sagrajatam
Sagana
भक्तां
Bhakta
रघुनाथान्वितं
Raghunatham
Raghunatham
Sajivam
Tam Sajivam
Sadvaitam
साद्वैतं
Sadvaitam
Advaitam
सावधूतं
Savadutam
Krishna Saitam
Harijana
परिजनसहितं
Chaitanya Devam
Chaitanya Deva
Radha
श्रीराधा
Sri
कृष्ण
Radha Krishna
Sagana
Pada
भगना
Lalitam
ललिता
Sahalalalitam
Shivam
Vitambitam Cha
Om Magana
ॐ
Timirandasya
जनस्तिमिरान्धस्य
Naganati Mirandasya
ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया
Gyananjana Salakaya
चक्षुरुन्मिलितं
Chakshuru
येन
Militam
तस्मै
Tasmai
नमः
Sri Gurave Namaha
Puja Shri Guru Bhargavata
गुरुवर्गवन्दिता
Sri Guru Varga
महाभावान्विता
Mahavandita
Vandita
सदा
Purva
Mahavandita
गुरुराय
Sada
परम्पराफलिता
Sarvakarya
Pragya
प्रमुखा
Chalita
चिते
Arya Pramurta
Bhakti
Krite
Rasya
Bhaktya Nirmala Niharasita Nivritanti
Vande Shri Guru
Sarasatam
Dev
Sadaram
Ananta Shaya
Namo Sri Gurudevananata Sira Acharya Varyamniyam
Gaurvavista Sapurakam Guru
Purvavista
Ganar Ashish
Supurakam
Bhushitam Vindhya
Gurunairashita
Chintya
Sambhushitam
Samastanitam
Nintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nitam
Shirapatananukam
Kripa
Govindadidam
Panduram Om
Bharataram
Bhaktivedanta
Bhaktanvitam Sundaram Vande Vishwagaruncha Bhagavad
Bhagavad
Prema
Vande Vishwa Guruncha Divya Bhagavad
Devam Divyatanam
Chakravartinam
Suchandara
वदनं
Devam
बालार्कद्वयं
Divyatanam Suchanda
Chetan
Varanam
Shri
Bala
Sundaram
Kachalanchitam
वैराग्यविद्यां बुधिं
Sandrananda Puransavi Kavaranam Vairagya Vidya Buddhim
Sarasvandetam Subharam Adekasara
Panditam Sadhu
Ashwaram Sri Radha Shri Siddhanta Saraswati
सरस्वती विदिता
Saraswati
गौरिया गुरुवाणी
Gauriya Gurambaye
आतो
Gato
प्रभाते
Gunurinamaste Gagane
गौरा
Gaura
संकीर्तनाय
Sankirtaname
Bodhitya Jivani Ma
नीलधर गतानुगृहीत जीवन्
Vishwanath
Abdigan Prema
Prema Jaya Prabhu Dhambaye
Namo Gorkishoraya
Swaraja Bhakta Vadhuta Murtaje Gorangiri Bhagavringaja Bhava Nisangibine
Vande Bhakti
Vande Bhakti Vinoram
Gaura Shakti Swarupakam
Sarokam
Bhakti
Gaura Shakti Sarupakam Vasu Sasra
Radha
Visamajam
Rasa Suda
Radhara
Rasa
Sutadim
Sudanidhim
Gaura Vraja Shrita Shesha
Sheshatai
Vaishnavaya Vanarigaram
Vaishnavadya
Jagannatha
Vigraham
Prabham Vande
Jagannatha
Premabdem
Prabhum
Veda
Vande
Vaishnava
Premadi Vaishnavam
Vaishnavam
Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha
Sakalpatarubhyacha
Yoga Sindhu
Kripa
Vayevacha
Sindhu
Patitanam
Vyacha
Pavanevayo
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Namaha
Namaha
Panchatattvatmakam Krishna Bhaktarupa
Panchatattvamakam
Swarupakam
Krishnam Bhaktarupa
Bhaktavataram
Bhaktavataram
Bhaktam
Bhaktavatar Bhaktatim
Yam
Namami
Namami
Bhaktasatam
Bhakta Shaktikam
Namo Mahapadanaya
Om
Yanno
Mahavadaya
Krishnaya
Krishna
Krishnaya Krishna
Prayate
Chaitanya
Krishna
Chaitanya
Krishna
Swami
Devara
Chaitanya
Krishnaya
Name
Te
Gaura
Namaha
Kise Namaha
Jayatam
Jayatam
Suratopano
Pangor
Amamanda
Mamamanda
Materti
Bhakti
Matere
Bhattavata
Turgati
Padambojo
Padambujo
Masarvasya
Radha
Padambaja
Padam
Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadruvada
Kalpadrumado
Kalpadrumada
Madranagara Singhasamita
Singhasanastho
Srimandara
Vigandharva
Simhasanastahu
Devo
Sri
Vaisali
Gandhara
Govinda
Sevyamanasara
Devo
Shivyamano
Vaishnavi
Swami
Savyamano Smarami
Sriman Rasa Samram
Rasaram
Sivata Tatasiya
Sivata
Swarsam
Samir Gopi
Tadvarsam Venu
Nata Sudesuna
Gopi Gopinata
Vrindai Tulsi
Sudesunaha
Devai
Jai
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 Jayasi
Namaste
Devyai
Krishna
Jaya
Bhakti
Keshavasri
Pradevi
Sita
Sachivachai
Krishna
Namo
Bhakti
Namaha
Devi Satyavata
Atanatma
Namo Namaha
Mantato Gurun
Guru
Bhagavato
Brahman
Tadam Yasan Jagat
Jagata Tadam
Ojaya
Bhagavato
Mudiraye
Nata
Jaya
Tathaya
Saparikar Shri Guru
Mudirage
Ranga Gandharva
Saparikara Sri Guru
Govinda Sundar
Gauranger
Padma
Govinda Sundara
Padmanam
Parapamanam Jaya
Jayasuru
Sadhu
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Krishna
Prabhu
Chaitanya
Nityananda
Prabhu
Shri Advaita
Nityananda
Gadadhara
Radha
Advaita
Shivasadi
Gadadhara
Gaura Bhakta
Vasai
Vrinda
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare
Vrinda
Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Hare
Hare
Hare Rama
Hare
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 Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
Rama
Rama Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
Hare
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 Jai Shri Prabhupada Shri Guru Shri Gurudev Shri Acharya Dev Ki Jai
Jai
Govardhan Ki Jai
Jai.
Jai
Jai Jai
Jai.
Hari 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 Bol
Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. Jai Zana, nice to see you again. Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna.
Her mic is muted.
my mic is muted. Okay.
Her mic isn't muted, but I don't think she has a mic on the headphones.
All right.
Oh.
Now,
Namaste, Maharaj.
namaste, Prabhu. Your name is,
Remember me?
I don't
I'm
remember
Amit
what your
Prabhu.
name is. Amit Prabhu.
I'm in Mumbai now.
From Bombay? Mumbai. Amit.
Yeah, I remember I used to come to Princeton.
Yes. You look different.
Okay, I used to wear glasses, so let me wear my glasses.
Yes, I remember you. I remember you. Very nice to see you. How did you find about our? How did you
How are
know
you?
about our classes? I'm okay.
Well, I still get the
Glad to see
email.
you.
So
Oh,
it's around
I
11
see.
here, so 11:10. So.
Jai. Oh, okay. Very nice to see you again. How are your parents? Everyone okay? Huh?
My dad
Yes.
passed. My dad
I didn't
passed away,
hear.
but my mom is still here.
Still there. Okay. Well, my condolences. So, who would like to sing one song? Let's see, Yasomati Nandan or whatever song. That where's our Uma Devi? See, it's not there. Is that her? M.
Yes.
Oh, she's there. She dropped.
Sorry, Maharaj, I'm outside. I can't sing. I'm going to
Oh,
office.
oh, outside you can chant. Well, everyone around you.
I'm going to
All right.
train.
Okay. Then, Kanapriya Didi, would you like to sing Yasamati Nandan? Page 16.
You can hear me, Maharaj?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Pranam.
Dandavats.
Good day.
Uma Didi has to, I think, mute some, background echo is coming.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Yasomati Nandana Vrajabara Balagara Gokula Ranjana Kana
Yasomati Nandana Vrajavara Nagara
Gokula
Gokula
Ranjana
Ranjana Kana
Ranjana
Gopi Paranatana Matano Manahara Kalyata Manavidhana
Gopi
Gopi
Paranadhana
Paranadhana
Gopi
Manohara
Paranadhana Madana
Kaliyada
Madhara
Mana
Kaliyada
Vidhana
Madhavithana
Amala Harinamami Avilasaha
Amala
Amala
Hari Nami Avilasa
Harinam
Vipina Purandara Navinana Karavara Vamsivadhana Subhasa
Bipina
Vipina Purandara
Purandara
Vipina
Navinana
Navinana
Karavara
Purandara
Karavara
Karavara
Vamsivadana
Vansivadana
Suvasa
Sivadana
Suvasa
Suvasa
Raja Jana Palana Surakula Nasana Nanda Gotana Rakuvala
Brajajana
Raja
Palana
Jana Palana
Trikulanasana
Sukulana
Nanda
Nanda
Gotana
Nanda
Karavara
Govana
Gopala
Kuvala
Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundara Nanda Gopala
Govinda
Govinda
Madhava Navita
Navinita
Madhava
Taskara
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 Sundara
Sundara
Nanda
Sundarananda
Gopala
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 Jamuna Tata Chara Gopi Vasana Hara Rasara Sikta Kripa Moya
Jamuna Tatachara Gopi
Yamuna
Vasana
Tatahara Gopi
Taskara
Rasara
Vasanahara
Sikha
Kripa
Sikta Kripa
Moya
Moya
Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Nata Vara Bhakati Vinodashaya
Sri
Shri Radha
Radha
Vallabha
Vallabha
Vrindavana
Sri Radha
Vrindavanam
Vallabha
Vinoda
Vrindavana
Bhakti
Bhakati
Vinodasraya
Vinodasraya
Yasomati Nandana Vajavarana Gara Gokula Ranjana Kana
Yasomati
Yasomadina
Nandana Brajabaranagara
Nandana Braja
Gokula
Baranagara
Kana
Gokula
Ranjana
Ranjanakana
Gopi Paranadana Matano Manahara Kaliyatamana Vitana
Gopi
Gopi
Paranadhana
Paranadhana
Madana
Gopi
Manohara
Madhara
Paranadhana
Kaliya
Kaliya
Madhava
Damona
Damana
Vidhana.
Damona
Madhara
Vidhana
Hi, thank you. Alright. Santa Maharaj,
Yes, Maharaj.
would you like to sing something in particular?
Which one you want, Maharaj?
As you like.
Okay, Maharaj. Actually, there is a song on page 34, Maharaj.
Okay.
Kobe Sri Chaitanya More Karibe na Daya. Got it? Everybody is there?
24 or 34?
34. 34?
34. 34.
Yes.
Okay.
On the PDF. Page number 34. You can see below there is a song. Below page 34 there is a song Kobe Sri Chaitanya. You got it, Jana? Okay. কবে শ্রী চৈতন্য মোরে করিবেন দয়া কবে আমি পাইব বৈষ্ণব পদ ছায়া
Kabe Shri Chaitanya More
Kabe Sri
Karibe
Chaitanya More
Naya
Karibe Nadaya
Kabe Ami
Kabe Ami
Paiva
Pai
Vaishnava
Vaishnava
কবে আমি ছাড়িব এ বিষয় অভিমান, কবে বিষ্ণু জনে আমি করিব সম্মান।
Kabe Ami
Kabe Ami Charibai Visaya
Vaishnava
Vimana
Abhimana Kabe Vishnu
Kabe
Jani
Vishnu
Ami
Jane
Kabe
Ami Kariva
Kariva Samana
Samana
গলবস্ত্র কৃতাঞ্জলি বৈষ্ণব নিকটে, দন্তে তৃণ করি দাড়া ইব নিষ্কপটে।
Kalavasa
Galavasa Kritanjali Vaishnava
Vaishnavani Kate
Nikate
Dante Tina
Ante
Kori
Trina
Daiva
Karidada Iva
Nishkapate
Niskapate
কান্দিয়া কান্দিয়া জানা ইব দুঃখ গ্রাম, সংসার নল হইতে মাঙ্গিব বিশ্রাম।
Kandiya
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 Kanaiva
Jana Iva
Sandukaka
Dukkha
Rame
Grama
Samsara Nale
Samsara Anale Hoite Magiva Visrama
শুনিয়া আমার দুঃখ বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর, আমা লাগি কৃষ্ণে আবে দিবেন প্রচুর।
Suniya Maraduka Vaishnava
Vaishnava Thakura
Thakura
Amalagi
Amalagi
Krishna
Krishna Ave
Vena Prachura
Dena Prachura
বৈষ্ণবের আবেদনে কৃষ্ণ দয়াময়, এহেন পামর প্রতি হবে ন সদয়।
Vaishnavera
Vaishnavera
Vedane
Vedane
Krishna Daya
Krishna Daya
Maya
Maya
Vena Pamara
Ehena
Prati
Pamara
Abhena
Prati
Sadaya
Avena Sadaya
বিনোদের নিবেদন বৈষ্ণব চরণে, কৃপা করি সঙ্গে লহ এই অকিঞ্চনে।
Vinoderani
Vinodera
Vedana
Nivedana
Vaishnava
Vaishnava
Dharane
Dharane
Dipakore
Kripa
Sangela
Kori Sangela
Eyakinchane
Eya Kinchane
বিনোদের নিবেদন বৈষ্ণব চরণে, কৃপা করি সঙ্গে লহ এই অকিঞ্চনে।
Vinoderani Vedana
Vinodera
Vaishnava
Nivedana Vaishnava
Dharane
Dharane
Dipakore
Kripa Kori
Sangela
Sangela Eya
Eyakinchane
Kinchane
দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর, দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর, বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর, দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর।
Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav
Daya
Thakur
Vaishnava Thakur, Daya
Vaishnava
Vaishnava
Thakur
Thakur, Daya Vaishnava Thakur, Daya Vaishnava Thakur.
দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর, দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর, বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর, দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর।
Vaishnav Thakur
Daya
Vaishnav
Vaishnava
Thakur
Thakur, Daya Vaishnava Thakur,
Thakur
Daya
Jaya Vaishnava
Vaishnava
Thakur.
Thakur, Daya Vaishnava Thakur.
All right. Ajay Prabhu, are you there? Ajay,
His mic is muted.
Mike. I can't hear you. Hare Krishna. Ajay? No, may not be there. Therese, would you like to read in English?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. When will Sri Chaitanya be merciful to me? When will I reach the shade of the Vaishnava's feet? When will I give up this mundane ego? When will I honor the Lord's devotees? With a cloth around my neck, joined palms, and straw between my teeth, I will sincerely submit myself at the Vaishnava's feet. Weeping, I will convey my sorrows to the Vaishnava and pray for shelter from the fire of material existence. Hearing of my sorrow, the worshipful Vaishnava will thoroughly pray to Krishna on my behalf. Satisfied by the Vaishnava's prayer, Krishna will be merciful to this sinner. Bhakti Vinod prays at the feet of the Vaishnavas. Mercifully take this lowly soul with you.
Hi.
Hari
Bhakti
Bol.
Vinod Thakur.
Yeah. This song, Maharaj, generally we sing while doing parikrama in morning and evening in Navadip.
All right. Very nice. Beautiful song. Bhakti Vinod always so humble. Huh? That's the humility he has. Teaching us. Then, Muni Maharaj, do you have one song you like? Can you hear us?
Sound is sound
Muni
low.
Maharaj, are you saying something? We can hear you.
No, 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 Muni Maharaj, no sound is coming. No.
Send him a headset.
We are getting a new headset for Muni Maharaj.
Okay.
Do you want to use Muni Maharaj my earphone? You can use this one. Check it.
I love it.
Ta-da.
No, we cannot hear.
Is the problem with I think then is the computer? No, your mic is muted, Muni Maharaj. Your mic is muted. No, it's showing me it is muted.
Yes, on our side it's muted also.
Oh,
Yeah, it's showing muted. Maybe some button pressed in the laptop. There are some buttons in the laptop. It happened with me also before. Near F3, F8, there's a microphone button. If somebody presses that by mistake, it will be muted, even though you are muted.
he's rejoining.
That's very nice.
Is cold there, Maharaj?
No. What's that?
Think yourself. It's your team. You made it for yourself. It's been sitting in your cabinet for 10 years waiting for you to
No,
think.
no, no, no voice is coming, Muni Maharaj.
Yeah, now he's not on mute, but voice is not coming.
Still voice is not coming. Yeah,
Correct?
some sound is coming.
Yeah.
But still distorted, not clear.
Is it possible for him to sit with you, Maharaj?
You want to come and sing here, Muni Maharaj?
Oh, you have a raccoon. Zana has a raccoon.
No, it's a kitty.
That's a cat.
What is it?
I thought it was a raccoon also.
Oh, I thought it was a raccoon.
No, it's
Come on, who's
cat.
listening to Vasundhara?
Looks like a zebra.
The floor mark. It's a nice view.
Oh, oh, join me, Zana.
Okay.
Look.
It's feeling awkward. Oh, here.
Yes.
Can I begin?
Yes, we can hear you. But we can't see you.
What is the page number you have to say? What is the page number? 110 Maharaj.
All right. 110.
সর্বস্ব তোমার
110.
সর্বস্ব তোমার
Okay.
সর্বস্ব তোমার চরণে সপিয়া পড়েছি তোমার ঘরে
সর্বস্ব তোমার
চরণে সপিয়া
পড়েছি তোমার ঘরে।
তুমি তো ঠাকুর তোমারও কুকুর বলিয়া জানো মোরে
তুমি তো ঠাকুর
তোমার
বলিয়া জানো
মোরে
বান্ধিয়া নিকটে আমারে পালিবে রহিব তোমার দ্বারে
বান্ধিয়া
নিকটে আমার
দ্বারে
প্রদীপ জনেরও আসিতে না দিব রাখিব গড়ের পারে
প্রতিপজনের
তব নিজ জন প্রসাদ সেবিয়া উচ্ছিষ্ট রাখিবে যাহা
তব নিজ জন প্রসাদ
আমার ভজন পরম আনন্দে প্রতিদিন হবে তাহা
আমার ভজন
বসিয়া শুইয়া তোমার চরণ চিন্তিব সতত আমি
বসিয়া শুইয়া তোমার
নাচিতে নাচিতে নিকটে যাইব যখন ডাকিবে তুমি
নাচিতে নাচিতে
ডাকিবে তুমি
নিজের পোষণ কভু না ভাবিব রহিব ভাবের ভরে
নিজর পোষণ
ভকতি বিনোদ তোমার পালক বলিয়া বরণ করে
ভকতি বিনোদ তোমার পালক বলিয়া
ভকতি বিনোদ তোমার পালকে বলিয়া বরণ করে
All right, thank you. Then, Zanade, would you like to say the English?
Yeah. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
I have offered everything at your feet and taken shelter in your home. You are my master. Consider me your dog. You will you will tie me up nearby and maintain me. I will remain at your doorstep. I will not allow my inimical person to enter. I will keep them on the far side of your moat. Whatever remnants your devotees leave behind after honoring your prasad, I will eat every day with great joy. While sitting up and lying down, I will always think of your feet. I will come to you whenever you call me, dancing all the way. I will never think about my own maintenance. I will always remain within the shelter of loving attachment to you. Bhaktivinoda embraces you as his maintainer. I have a question. There were some words that I don't know. But what is this page 110? When he says, I will keep them on the far side of your moat. What is a moat?
Moat. When you have it, sometimes when they make a castle, they put around it some water, channel of water.
I got it. I got
That's
it.
called moat.
Well, English is not my first language. But
It's
there are
okay.
some words that
You did very good.
I never read this word anywhere.
You should have put cat here instead of dog, huh? Well, then you would have liked it.
I like mine. And then, oh,
Can you say
okay.
cat?
Mhm. Yeah.
I saw him, yes. Very nice.
Where is it? Yeah.
We can see her.
Yeah.
We saw her before.
She's sitting really quietly and listening to everything.
Oh, Krishna
My
Kesava.
little Bhakti.
What song do you want to sing?
I would like to see.
Nitai?
On page 45.
Page 45. Karvastika.
$45.
45.
Morning.
Dandavats to the assembled devotees.
Dandavad.
And
Samsaradava nalalita loka Pranaya karunya gana ganatvam
Samsara dava
Saradava
nalanidha
nalalita
loka
Pranaya
Ayakar
karunya
gana
ganatvam
ganatkam
Praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindaam
Praptasya
Tasya
kalyana
kalyana
Gunarnavasya
Vande Guru
Guru
Sri
Sri
Charanavindam.
Charanavindam
Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru
Sri
Sri Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Varitramadyan Manasorasena.
Mahaprabhu Kirtana
Mahaprabhu
Nitya Gita
Kirtana Nitya Gita
Madhyamarjana Manasorasena
Varitramadya Manasurasena.
Romanchakam Srutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Romanchaka Pasuranga
Romanchakapasutarangabhajyo
Bande
Vande
Guru
Guru
Sri
Sri
Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Bande Guru
Vande
Sri
Guru Sri
Charanarvindam. Bande
Charanarvindam.
Guru
Vande
Sri
Guru Sri
Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Shri Vigrahara Dhana Nityanana Shringarasan Mandira Majanadao.
Vigrahara Dhanityananda Shingaratana Diramadjanado.
Yuktasya Bhaktam Strani Yunjatopi Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Yuktasya
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 Bhakta
Bhaktam
Niyunjatopi
Shaniyunjatopi
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru Sri
Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru
Vande Guru Sri
Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru Sri
Sri Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Padavantriptan Hari Bhakta Sangan.
Chaturvidha Sri Bhagavat Prasada Padanatritan Hari Bhakta Sangam.
Kritvaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadhaiva Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Kritvaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadeva Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru
Vande
Sri
Guru Sri
Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru
Vande Guru Sri
Sri Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Shri Radhika Madhava Para Madhurya Lila Guna Rupa Nam Nam.
Radhika
Shri Radhika Madhava Yodhara
Madhurya Leela
Madhurya Lila Guna Rupa Nam Nam.
Nam Nam.
Pratitraspada Nana Lolupasya Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Prateka
Rati Sanatana
Sadaralo
Lopasya
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru
Sri
Sri
Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru Sri
Vande Guru
Charanarvindam.
Sri
Vande
Charanarvindam.
Guru Sri
Vande Guru Sri
Charanarvindam.
Charanarvindam.
Nikunja Yuno Rati Kele Siddhayer Yaya Libir Yuktir Apekshaniya.
Rikinjayo no
Nikunjayo no rati ki
Jaya
jyotir jai Jaya jyotir jyotir apekshaniya
Tatrati daksha dati bhalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
Tatri Dakshana Ativala
Tata
Vande
Tridaksha Dati
Guru
Balavasya Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam
Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru
Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam
Sakshadharit Vena Shamasta Shastra Uttasava Vyasa Eva Sadhi.
Sakshat
Sakshadaritvena Samasta Shastre Uttasata Bhavata Eva Sadhi
Kintu Prabhuya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
Kintu Prabhu Priyavata
Kintu Prabhurja Priya Eva
Sri
Tasya Vande
Charanara
Guru Sri Charanarvindam
Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru Sri Charanara
Vande Guru Sri
Vande Guru Sri
Charanarvindam
Charanara
Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam
Yasya Prashadat Bhagavat Prashado. Yasya Prashada Nagita Kutopi.
Yasha
Yasya prasada
Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasada
Nagati
Nagati
Kutopi
Kutopi
Jayam Stubham Sasyaya Sastri Sanyam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
Jayam Stubham Tasya
Jayam
Sanyam
Stubham Tasya
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru
Yasastri
Sri
Vande
Charanarvindam
Guru Sri Charanarvindam
Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru Sri
Vande Guru Sri
Vande
Charanarvindam Vande Guru Sri
Charanarvindam
Charanarvindam
Srimad Guru Stakam Taruchaye. Brahme Muhurte Pasati Prayatnat.
Srimad Guru
Srimad Guru Rastakame Uchaye Brahme Muhurte Patati Prajatna
Yasena Vrinda Vananata Sakshat. Seva Valabhya Janusmrita Eva.
Yastena
Yastena Vrindavana Nata Saksha Devalavya Jana Sambhaveva
Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
Vande Guru
Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya
Jaya
Guru
Guru
Deva
Deva Jaya
Guru
Guru
Deva
Deva Jaya
Guru
Guru
Deva
Deva Jaya Guru Deva
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Jaya Guru
Jaya
Deva
Guru Deva Jaya Guru
Guru
Deva
Deva
Jaya
Jaya
Guru
Guru
Deva
Deva
Jaya Guru Deva
Jaya Guru Deva
Dhanyavad.
right.
Some nice flowers. Jana is showing.
Oh, our colors.
So let's see now. Uh,
I think there is echo is coming. Krishna Keshav Prabhu.
probably from. Okay. So which were proper Jivanamrita? Does anyone know the last sloka?
The page is 32 or 33, one of the.
Okay. Oh, 32?
32?
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
have Jaka?
33, I don't remember exactly.
43?
Shloka is about
40?
30.
No, 30,
30,
32. I
32.
think it's 32.
32, 33. One of them.
30
Is it-
Jiva,
What
in that
page?
Jiva
way.
Do you know what
Jaka?
page it is? Do you know what page it is, Rosh? Page 30?
I marked the 32 or 33. I'm not sure exactly in the right or the left, but it was in that
Page 32.
What are
book.
the first words?
Oh,
Page
Jiva
31.
Jaka?
Oh, in the Kirtan.
okay.
Yes,
32.
Maharaj. I think 33, 33 the first sloka, 31. Sloka 31.
Okay.
That's one we have to start. It starts from 32 actually. Last line. Page 32, last line.
Okay.
Page 32?
This is page 32.
On
What are
page
the first
32?
words? What are the
Last line.
first words?
Okay, okay.
At the bottom.
Oh, all right. So this is sloka 31 then. The sloka is 31 and the page is 32 at the bottom. Sri
Okay.
Chaitanya, Varana Sharane Chideka Rasa Vilasa Lava. Okay. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshakshati Kosa Raja Ki Jai.
Jai.
Sri Chaitanya Charana Sharane Chideka Rasa Vilasa Lava.
I have on the page,
You have
on
it?
page 32,
Uh, uh,
on the page
at the
32,
very bottom, the bottom of page 32.
The last lines
I
on
have
The last line.
Jiva
Last line.
Jaga.
Sri, it says Sri Chaitanya Charana Sharane Chideka Rasa Vilasa Lava.
Uh-uh.
Right.
Page
You're looking on the right book? Prapana
page
Jivanamrita?
410.
No, Prapana Jivanamrita. We're on that book now.
Okay, I don't have it here.
Okay.
Okay, I will be just listening.
Okay.
Okay, got it. I will be listening.
You can download the on chat I send you the PDF. Jana.
I have it on another device because I have a phone.
Okay.
I have this one and this one. Too many things.
Okay. You're well prepared.
And the battery will go down soon. So I will need to bring the wires.
Samsara Sindhu Tarane Hridayam Yadi Syat. Satkirtana Namrita Rase Ramate Manaschet. Premambudo Viharane Yadi Chitta Ritis. Chaitanya Chandra Charane Sharanam Prayatu from Chaitanya Chandramita. The souls surrendered unto the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Dev, bathed in the ocean of divine love. Ajay Prabhu, can you read? If you like. What's that?
Kanu Priya. Maria is listening, but she has to drive to pick up
Oh.
her daughter stuck in the rain.
Sorry, Maharaj. I just have to go.
Okay.
I've just had a
All right.
rescue call, but I'm still here.
Ajay, can you see that verse?
Yeah, probably 33, probably.
31, page 33. Yes, verse 31.
Yeah. Being revealed by Lord Himself. This one, Maharaj?
If you have a desire to cross the ocean, that one
No, I have a different one.
on the top of page 33 on Prapanda Jivanamrita.
Yeah,
Jaggi Maharaj has shared the link in the chat.
yeah, sure. I have different version. I think I got it from the internet.
I see.
Saying
Find it?
no, it's not allowing me to log in. Like, okay, now it's loading. Initially, it's asking whether you are a robot or not. It's 33. It's okay.
Saying you have to replace that.
Yeah, I'm on page 33, Maharaj.
Okay.
The soul surrendered unto the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Deva, bathed in the ocean of divine love. If you have desire to cross the ocean of material existence, an aspiration to taste the ecstasy of the nectarian congregational chanting of holy names, Sankirtana, and a longing to sport in the ocean of divine love, then please surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Chandra. Hare Krishna.
Chaitanya Chandra.
Shall I read the next one, Maharaj? Or no?
Okay. You know this? Can I read the transliteration?
Yeah, I'll read. 6 divisions of surrender.
No, the before that.
The Sanskrit verse? Yeah. Sadvida Saranagati. Anukulasya Sankalpa Pratikulya Vivarjanam. Raksisyati Visvaso Goptre Varanam Tata Atma Niksepa Karpanye Sadvida Saranagati. 6 divisions of surrender. Acceptance of favorable, rejection of the unfavorable, the faith that He will surely protect me, embracing the Lord's guardianship, complete dependence on Him, and the perception of one's utter helplessness without Him. These 6 are essential limbs of exclusive surrender to the Lord. Saranagati.
Yes. So 6, huh?
Yeah.
6 divisions, huh? 6 divisions of surrender. Divisions. All these things are present. These 6 things are present in the heart of a surrendered soul. Accept what is favorable, reject what is unfavorable. First 2, huh? First, acceptance and rejection, positive and the negative. Accept everything that is favorable, reject everything that is unfavorable. What What does unfavorable mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does it mean? Anyone?
Anything which uh, takes us away from Krishna, that is unfavorable.
Yes. That causes you to forget, then that is unfavorable. That causes you to remember, that is favorable.
Maharaj, whenever we do things with a sense of doership, we always forget Krishna.
That's right.
That's what I mean.
So how do you correct that?
By doing work for Krishna, to satisfy Krishna. Like what I realize, if I do the job, I do it sincerely so that Krishna will be happy, not for my own sake.
Okay.
I should work first because Krishna is given the duty, prescribed duty. So I should work to satisfy Krishna. And other day, Maharaj, I spoke up, wake up from the sleep, and I remembered my office work, and I felt irritated. Oh, now I have to do that. But when I remembered I'll be doing it for Krishna, immediately I got energy to do the work. I felt very nice. Like that's also removing all the tension and everything, because we we have nothing to lose. We are working for Krishna. It is success or failure. It's also it's not in our hands. Just our only duty is to do the work. That's what I felt.
Mm-hmm. Sounds nice. How to always remember Krishna and never to forget him. Bhakti, Rupa Goswami told that. 2 laws of bhakti. Always remember Krishna, never forget him. We can somehow do that. Then we can eliminate all unfavorable. I'll know what is unfavorable and what is favorable. What helps us to remember Krishna, and what helps us to forget him. These are the things we have to practice. Acceptance and rejection.
Maharaj,
Yes?
it is actually the smaran, the remembrance. Somehow it is not being considered as something very active, because when we are discussing the devotion of Srila Prahlad Maharaj, then he is being considered in Santaras, but he is always remembering, Smarane Prahlad. It is being told that remembrance, the best example is Prahlad Maharaj, which constantly remembering Krishna, and yet he is being, categorized as one of the Santaras devotee. Why it is like that? Even though he's active, it's in some sense not like, like a river or mountain like that,
Well,
and yet
yes?
being he's like counted in Santaras.
When Hiranyakashipu, his father, asked him, is your Vishnu in that pillar? And Prahlad said, yes. He was remembering Krishna every time, all the time, remembering Krishna. So father said, is that pillar Krishna? Vishnu is also there? Prahlad immediately said, yes, he's there. No? They were looking at
Yes.
a pillar, but he saw Vishnu. Not Krishna, yeah, saw Vishnu. So always remembering Krishna, you can see Krishna everywhere and everything. So that, not a particular relationship with Krishna, but general relationship. This is like Vasudeva conception. The Vasudeva conception, you see Krishna everywhere, but only Krishna. You don't see with his devotees or Radharani or the cowherd boys or anyone. Only Krishna. That's Shantaras. Neutral. Same whether he's looking at a pillar, whether he's looking at the water, whether he's looking at the snakes who are coming to bite him, or the elephants who are going to crush him. His only thought was Vishnu. So not a particular thought, not a particular relationship, a general relationship he had with Vishnu. That's Shanta. Huh? Yes?
Also, when we were reading, we had Bhagavatamrita, there was one section where they met with Srila Prahlad Maharaj as a older with family, grandchildren, and all that, and he was telling to Gopa Kumar, he was either to Gopa Kumar he was telling, or to Narada, because they both went on the tour, and he was saying how actually he didn't receive Vishnu's mercy as Nishingadev. That was just a pastime for the other devotees, and luckily Prahlad Maharaj was used as a tool in that. But because then he's looking at his whole life, and he had some other desires. He was given like a high position of the king of the demons, and he has all these family lives. And actually, he admits in the book, he admits that he enjoyed his life, and he had some desire for that. He said something like that. We had Bhagavatamrita, so he elaborates on what his own motivations are.
I think that is an appreciation that he is showing towards Hanuman. In that, actually, Prahlad Maharaj is showing some humility that there is some higher devotion like Hanuman in that. Sridhar Maharaj explained something like that.
Yes.
We see him taking the lower position.
Yes, because Prahlad is a Shuddha Bhakta, so he doesn't have all those material desires. But like I said, he has a general conception of Krishna. That everywhere is Krishna. No specific or particular relationship. General relationship. Smaranam. He sees the other things, and he sees also, and he remembers Krishna. In a higher stage, then one only sees only Krishna. Anyhow, I would say, and that is the reason, his general conception, universal conception of God, that is Shantaras.
Maharaj, once you were explaining that the devotees in the baby form, like Yatish
Yes.
Kumar and Prahlad, they are not so dynamically related to Lord in active service. Then Lord himself has to do some service to them. You are saying something like that.
Yes. Kumars, well, in a sense, they are helpless because they're babies. So, and they wanted to stay like that because they didn't want to have any mature relationship with anybody. They were afraid that if they had any relationship with anyone, then they would become materialistic again. So they wanted to avoid that at all costs. So they remained in the baby form. Babies don't have much relationship to anyone, and only they are taking service from everyone.
Maharaj, even adults are helpless, right? Because
Yes, at a certain stage, we have to take that position also. We are also helpless. How, in the beginning stage, we have to think, what can I do? But in the higher stage of development, one has an active relationship. One can engage in an active and particular type of relationship with Krishna. As a what is that? A friend, or a parent, or as lover, and then higher relationships just like that. Sakya Vatsaya Madhurya. So in the beginning, we have to just take a helpless position. And as Krishna gives us some understanding, deeper relationship can develop by His grace. He will arrange that. We don't have to strive for that. Krishna will arrange.
Maharaj,
Yes? Yes, Maha.
regarding what Sripad Krishna Keshav Prabhu was saying, I remember that actually what Prahlad Maharaj said was this, that he was preaching in among the demons. And while preaching to the demons used to say many bad things about the Lord all the time. And Prahlad Maharaj felt that he's so unfortunate that he had to hear all those bad things about those demons were speaking. And he says that I still suffer because of those bad words and I'm feeling a lot of pain. And he said that Hanuman is higher because he was able to serve the Lord and he didn't have so much of bad association like he had because he was the king of the demons and he was always associating with those demons. That's what he said.
I say. Yes. The difference between Prahlad and Hanuman, huh? Hanuman had so many services to do for Krishna. He went to save Sita, tried to save Sita. So many things. Went as a messenger. He helped build that bridge. He picked up those stones and helped the bridge, build the bridge. So many things. He had all of his monkey men come and help fight Ravana. So Prahlad was just remembering Krishna all the time. And therefore he could not be harmed. Father tried to throw them in the pit with the snakes. The snakes were just walking around him. Not walking, but crawling around him. But they did not bite him. All poisonous snakes. They were not interested in biting him. Father threw him off the cliff, and Garuda came and saved him. And the elephants, they were walking around, but they would not step on it, Prahlad. So many different things. Right? I gave him some poisoned cake, and then he offered it to Krishna, and nothing happened. Could not poison him. So could not work. So like that, Krishna was always protecting him, like a baby.
Hanuman also felt, Maharaj, that he don't have the closeness like the Pandavas or the Yodhus. The Pandavas, yes, I think.
Yeah.
Because they're like, they're playing like friends with Krishna.
Yes, that's right. So they were Sakyaras, and he was Dasyaras. Dasya and Sakya. So there's Santa, Dasya, Sakya. Santa, the Kumars, and Dasya is Hanuman. Sakya is the Pandavas. All right, so the first is accept what is favorable. Second, reject what is unfavorable. These are the symptoms of one who is surrendered. Then the third is faith that he will protect me. One who knows, has complete faith in Krishna. Then that is also a symptom of surrender. To have that faith in Krishna will protect you, you have to have faith that Krishna is definitely there. There's no question that Krishna is there. Krishna is God. He has all powers to do anything. Krishna Mare Rakina, Krishna Raki Marina. You know that? Prabhupada used to say that. If Krishna wants to protect me, nobody can kill me. If Krishna wants to kill me, nobody can protect me. Perfect faith. Perfect faith. Put your whole life in his hands. You know that song, Teres? He's got the whole world in his hands. You heard that song?
I just started singing it when you said the words.
I was hearing you.
It's got the whole world.
Yes. So you're in safe hands. When you see he's got the whole world in his hands, certainly you're there also. So he can save you. Then, and the fourth case, and the fourth instance, the fourth division, here's the important one. Embracing the Lord's guardianship. You know what that means? What does that mean? This is the most important one. Essential.
Family.
Huh?
Joining the family.
Family? Yes, we can say that. The guru.
He's going to protect you.
Guardian Maharaj.
Huh?
The position of guardian is to actually guru actually.
Yes, guru. That is actually guru. Not that you would direct your own life by yourself, by your own mind. You don't take guidance from yourself. Or you take guidance from guru, your protector. And here is a very important point to reach. Previous ones, you can have your own self, accept and reject, and have faith. That's your own doing. But here we come to the essential point. Accept the Lord as guardian. The guardian means that you don't accept guru as just somebody who's telling you, your good friend who is telling you what to do and not to do. When you meet guru, that is a time when you meet Krishna. When the infinite wants to come to the finite, he appears to us as Gurudev. That we have to see. Who has genuine surrender, he can see like that. They can see like that. That guru is not just another person that we meet in the street. Acharya mam vijanayat. Krishna says, know that I am the Acharya. He is coming to tell us how to proceed, to be guided. Something beyond ourself. Not yourself as the guardian, but that's something beyond yourself. We have to search for that. We have to have faith in that, beyond our own self, beyond our own capacity, our own guidance. There we come to the real heart of surrender. I mentioned this several times already. Anyone can follow their own will. So many dogs on the street are doing that. But to come to follow Gurudev's order, instruction, there we come to surrender. And next, after that, complete dependence on him. Complete dependence. Srila Maharaj told us that story of the Guru told there's a rope on a road, pick it up. There's a rope. And then then the disciple picked that rope up. No, put it down. It's a snake. All right, but sorry, I thought it was a rope too. No, it's a rope. Go pick it up. Good day. What are you telling me? Yes, so he picks it up. Don't question. That kind of dependence. I can see myself. What is what? I don't know. That kind of dependence on Guru is necessary. Not only to guard us, guide us, but to direct us also. Tell us what to do and not to do. Yeah. If we can have that kind of faith, that kind of dependence, then we're understanding something about what it means to surrender. then our surrender is coming to fruition. Full fulfillment or full fruit is coming. Necessary. Why is that necessary? Because we are in the material world, we only follow our own ideas, our own will. That's what material existence means. And the whole Vedic process is how to get beyond that. How to get beyond that self, ego. How to take guidance from that higher self that is there. No one is independent of that higher self. Don't confuse the lower self with the higher self. There's a higher self also. The self is doubled. We think the self is only that which is connected with the body. That's a self also. But self is also subject, just like you are a subject. You know that you are subjective. You have a subjective self. You can say, this is my body. You say my body. You don't say I body. So my means there's a possessor. There's a body and there's a possessor of the body. So that possessor is the subjective self. But there's another self also. There's an objective self also, not the body. Because somebody can look at you. You are a subject to yourself. But to another person, you are an object. Not that your body is also an object, but you are also object. You are conscious of some objects, but when another person is conscious of you, to you as a person, then your person also becomes object to them. They relate to you as another person, another consciousness. That means your consciousness is the subject of a body, but it's also, when you look at another person, they are object also. Not only their body, but their consciousness is also object to you. And your consciousness is also object to another person. One can look at you and say, what kind of consciousness you have. Whether you have Krishna consciousness or don't, or some other consciousness, they can perceive, and you can understand also. So consciousness has a double significance. It is subject and object, both. And you can also make your own consciousness subject of your self. Subject can also become object of itself. It's called self-consciousness. So like that, there's a double consciousness. Everyone has subject and objective, subject and object. So there is another self beyond this subjective self. There is also, you can be object not only of another person, but of Krishna. You're the object of Krishna consciousness, the universal consciousness. That's particular is also subject of object of that. So to realize all those things means you have to go beyond your subjective self. You have to go beyond your subjective consciousness to understand that. That also exists. How your object, your own consciousness is not only subjective but objective also. So the whole Vedic process is how to get you to that other, where you can become object of yourself. And that requires going beyond your subjective self in order to understand what that other perspective is. And then perception of one's utter helplessness without it. Now here we come to helplessness. When we recognize that my own consciousness is not independent. Even to be conscious, have consciousness, is not an independent thing. Mani Maharaj was asking me, consciousness means with. Consciousness has the meaning of with, con, something with knowing. Hegel explained that when we come to understand the I that is we and the we that is I. How there's a universal and a particular. They're both connected. They're not, can't be separated. And the particular is dependent upon the universal. And the universal also, in a way, needs the particular to be substantial, to be living. Universals don't exist on their own. They also must exist in relation to particular, and particular exists in relationship to universal. That example we gave of the fruit and the cherries and the apples and so forth. Fruit is universal, a cherry, a grape, and so whatever, that's also particular. So you can't have a cherry that's not a fruit, and you can't have a grape if it's not a fruit. That's not a fruit. So they depend on fruit. But fruit, what is that? You can't go to the store and buy fruit. That's a universal. You tell the grocer, I want fruit, and he shows you some apples. No, I want fruit. I'm showing you fruit. No, that's not. I want the fruit, not the apple. So like that, you can't have the particular without the universal. Not possible. You can't tell what it is properly. So like that, we're dependent on the universal. We're a particular consciousness. There's also universal consciousness. Everyone is included in that. You're there, everyone is there. There's I. All right. There's I and there's we. You also identify yourself as we. We live here. I and my family, we live here. So you identify yourself with we. But you're also different as for singular. Singular and the plurality. It's a particular and the universal. So we have to understand, you can't live independently of the universal. You don't have any meaning, no meaning to your existence without understanding your universal nature also. And a very universal part of your existence. It's like that. Complete dependence. And you have and you're helpless on your own. The energy is coming to you from the universal to the particular. Life energy, where is it coming from? The thought, so many things are coming. We discussed this before also. And these things are not coming from us. In that sense, we're completely dependent. Anyhow, that is the Vaishnava understanding. The scriptural Shastra explains it this way.
Maharaj,
Yes?
when we say darshan, when we go to Vaishnava or Guru, generally, when we go to, Govinda Maharaj, see a Vaishnava, generally they call darshan. So if darshan has to do with the angle of vision of seeing, with developing a proper conception, or physical seeing.
Darshan.
Because in Sanskrit or Hindi also, philosophy is known as darshan.
So when we have in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Krishna says, the Tattva Darshana. Tattva Darshana means who can see the truth. Not only they're talking some words or some philosophy. Guru is not like that. Guru can see, knows what he knows, by example, by living experience rather. He knows by experience at certain place, guru of a certain level. He knows by experience what he's saying. To one who doesn't have that experience, it sounds like he's just talking philosophy. But you can also experience those things. Have come to that experience. Those things. That's called Tattva Darshan. He is seeing that, seeing Krishna. He's seeing these things that scriptures just talk about. For us who don't see those things, are not at that level. So darshan means actually pratyaksha, actually see. Pratyaksha bhagavam dharmam. With his senses, he can see. Tattva darshan. And also, Srila Maharaj explained once that darshan means the deity is seeing you. You go to see the deity. But when you go before the deity and say, I am here, I am here so you can see me. I can't see, I see a doll. I see some stationary figure on the altar. But when we can understand that Krishna is seeing me through that form, that is also a real darshan. That means you can actually see. That is the correct vision. Not that I can see, but that Krishna can see through me. He can see me and he can see through me. So that darshan doesn't only mean with the eye, but darshan means with the mind and the intelligence, with the reason. That allows them to see properly, all those ways.
I was once in London Temple Maharaj, and
Yes.
I told that he told Guru says what if you rope as a snake, then you have to accept it, and snake as rope, then again you have to accept it. Many times he says then you have to accept it. In the sense that I was telling about Srila Govinda Maharaj, selected Srila Acharya Maharaj as Acharya, and some people, they were having some kind of doubt or something like that. Then, one senior devotee, he was telling me, one sannyasi came and he was telling me like this. And then, why don't he knows that I can see what is snake and what is rope. He was saying like that. So that means I can see. Is more problematic.
They're seeing with the eye, not with the heart. Heart, devotee, surrendered soul has faith in Guru. That's the idea. Faith must be there in Gurudev. Perfect faith. That's surrender. We're talking about surrender, not like some experience. Like I said, we may have so many experiences. That is not surrender. Anybody, a dog has experiences also. That is not so great. What wonderful thing is that I can see this, I can see that. So what? Everybody can see it. That's not what we're talking about. That seeing comes from the heart. Another type of life. Transcendental understanding, transcendental knowledge, transcendental vision. They can see those things differently. They can understand. What does it mean to see Guru? See through Guru, see through Shastra.
Guy has something.
Okay.
Maharaj,
Yes.
I was going through some literature about Vaisheshika literature, Vaisheshika Shastras. So in that I found that when they talk about relations between like identity distinctions, I found a lot of words in those texts. Like there are words like samavaya, visheshana. So they have the like meaning like equivalence, or sometimes they mean like visheshana. Visheshana means like a proposition or identity distinction. So it seemed to me that in Hegel's conception, whatever he describes in terms of determinate qualities. A lot of ideas are also there in the olden literature, but it seems not everybody is able to understand it. But only few persons come, like sometimes Hegel comes and makes it clear again. But it seems these are not some new ideas, but they are present in even in ancient literature. How that special conception comes in someone that you can identify how things are working.
As a mysterious, a mystery, how it's all working. Mysterious. You know this word, anupalakshavartmane? You heard of this word term?
Yes, Maharaj.
Anupalakshavartmane. The inconceivable way.
Yeah.
Anupalakshavartmane. The inconceivable path. We're traveling on that road. The inconceivable road. How we're traveling, what that road is, so many things we don't know. And all inconceivable, but we're going on it. This is helplessness. Helplessly, we're going on it. We can't know everything. How we're getting there, how we're moving at all. What is going on? These are all. Your hair is growing out your head. You don't know how it's happening. Even that. I want to speak of making progress in spiritual life. How is it happening? How does it go on? I have no idea. Yet, who has that connection, that inner connection with Guru? Why they have that inner connection? Maybe from so many unknowable factors from our past life, whatever. What do we have experienced before? What we are doing now? How that is all influencing us? We can't determine all those things.
Even
So,
in that dialogue, Maharaj,
yes,
in the dialogue of Parmenides that Plato. So if we just begin to read that, Socrates begins to talk about opposites. So it seems that even Socrates had such ideas about beginning with the opposites.
yes,
So it's something that some great personalities are already like identifying those elements in the way the nature is dialectical, and that's something unique in them that they can see that.
I remember Hegel used to say to some people, he used to say, you don't have the organ. You don't have the organ of philosophy.
Or, yes, true.
Organ of philosophy. Some people don't have that organ. Just like there are some people don't have eye, or their eye can't see, blind. The organ is not functioning. It's there, but it's not functioning. So like that, there's an organ that's specifically for philosophy.
And when such great personalities are explaining those things,
Very
and those
far
things,
in between. Huh?
when such personalities like Socrates are explaining these things, in front of him, Parmenides is there, Zeno is there, but they can't understand it. They keep arguing.
Yes. Yes.
But the person is so confident and is bringing out all these elements like a very easily at every point of the discussion dialogue. So something like what to say, something in both great personalities, kind of a like a lighthouse. I mean, where we can trace the movement of the thought. Otherwise, it is lost among the general mass.
Yes. So the scriptures are there, but in order to access them, we need an interpreter. We need Guru. If we try to interpret the scripture, we'll get it all wrong. We'll miss everything. But if the proper distributor of that shastric knowledge is there, then we may get some chance to hear properly, to understand properly. One word, even one word from Guru, can make the whole thing clear to us, which we could not read. Even we've seen, like with the Bhagavad Gita, so many Gitas have been translated, been printed, but no one became devotees like when Prabhupada's Gita was printed. So many people became devotees from reading Prabhupada's Gita. No one became, very few people became by reading the Gita beforehand. All those Gitas. But Prabhupada, with his Gita and the devotees to explain them, then so many people took to Krishna consciousness. When studying in school, university, there are so many books, quantum theory, calculus, this, the other thing, But to pick up those books and learn those things on yourself, I don't think there's so many people who can do that. When you have a good teacher, then it becomes possible. Maybe a few people who have good intelligence, they can follow a good teacher and learn something about that and themselves become teachers. Otherwise, just picking up a book here and there may be very, very difficult. So a teacher is always recommended, even in ordinary sense. Whole educational system would not exist if that were not the case. There would be no university, schools, this, that, the other thing. Just read the books in the library, go and become educated. Huh?
Scanner, like a scanner, guy.
You want to become a surgeon? Go read the book. It would be very nice, right? I've read the book. I can do it. I can operate on your brain.
Maharaj, you wrote in your introduction, you wrote that all these ideas like being for self, being for other, these are all determinations of, these are all determinate beings. They are not, they are not just pure beings. So it seems the whole of this philosophy is a result of a thinking process. It is not just something abstract, like some definitions, but it is a result of thought. It seemed to me like that at that point. And thought itself is determining the different, types of being, not just one type of being. So the idea of being, people think that being, they just take it so simply, but what really being means has something to do with the thinking, shapes of thought, basically.
And one ancient discussion about the ultimate truth. Should it be understood in terms of being, or should it be understood in terms of unity? The one or the ultimate being, supreme being, how to understand the truth? Which way is the best, is the most proper or most profound? Everything should be based on being, or everything should be based on understanding what is one? Which is the most fundamental? One or being?
We can't separate like that. Because we cannot separate, as if everything is like resting on the substance of the one, let's say, because they are inhering in that one. At the same time, But one is not entirely, what to say, separable or from those, different types of beings. So, so it is a whole. Truth must be the whole thing, whole, what to say, whole determination, not just.
Well, whole means one.
And truth must be actual, not just potential.
Uh,
So it must have all those movements.
yeah, a difficult question. It requires a lot of thinking. People for thousands of years, philosophers, have tried to solve that problem. How to explain it so that everyone can come to the same conclusion, which is the most what is the most cogent explanation. Trying to understand that one or being. If the absolute is being, then one doesn't have any role. If it is one, then being doesn't have any role.
You said one or being. Is it the same question as one or many?
No,
One or being.
one different conception. One is a certain conception. Being is another conception. And
It seems
which one is most fundamental?
one is more determinate than just being.
Uh,
One is a determinate idea of being, and being can be both, what to say, indeterminate as well as it can become determinate.
the same can be said for one.
I mean, one also has a being of one.
Oh no, that's not. There's a different conception involved in one and being are two different conceptions. One is more subjective. To understand what the meaning of one is more subjective than to understand the meaning of being. Beings is a more objective sense, ontological. One is another type of concept, a more epistemological. So it requires a different different way of seeing truth, different processes involved. Ontological or epistemological, different way of approaching truth. So we find that also in the Vedic literature, different ways of approaching pratyaksha, paroksha, like that. Different ways of approaching. Pratyaksha is ontology. Paroksha is more epistemology. Of course, it's all epistemology, we can say. Perceiving by the senses or perceiving by reasoning induction. But one requires more conceptual, subjective approach than the other.
Yeah, I mean, like in the Vedic literature, we have
When
the
you say, yeah, I'm sorry, what's that?
yeah we have some words like vastu. Vastu means substance, or we can say being in
Yes.
the Vedic. At the same time, we have the verses like Eko api asauracharitam jagadanda kotim. Eko api, he's one. Yet he's coming in the form of so many manifestations, varieties. So that way also it is there.
So when you want to say the whole or the truth, the whole, that means one. And you define it as whole.
Yeah.
As one. So without that concept, you can't really define the absolute. They say.
No. Mm-hmm.
So the other ontologists say the one is being, absolute being. And we don't need one in that case.
How can that be one?
We just have to understand what? We just have to understand being. And when we understand being, we'll know what the absolute is.
Maharaj,
That doesn't require whole. What's that, Maharaj?
this one has to do with the unity.
That's what?
When we talk about one,
Uh,
then it includes unity. How it is, one. I mean, how the different, things they are in one.
well, they say, that's an impersonalist, they say monists, they say one is first. And then the the dispersal of the one into many, that's a secondary thing. Everything comes from one,
Yes.
so the one is first.
But Maharaj, in the sense of organic unity, like one, which is a whole, then there is a theological, relationship, even though there is, variety.
Yeah. Well, that's a different understanding then. When we say when the
One and many.
anyhow in Greek society, the Greek times, one was held to be the ultimate by a certain group of Greek philosophers called the Eleatics.
Like Zeno.
And now, if you come to another conception of one as unity, then you have introduced another element into the one that the Eleatics didn't understand. And that is that there is a one and many simultaneously. And that's what our philosophy is. Well, if there is one, there must also be many ones. Many means many ones. So one can be one or it can be many ones. And they can't distinguish. If there are many ones and they're all identical, then you can't distinguish them. Therefore, even the many ones are also one. There's no difference between the definition of one as one only and the many ones as being there and as identical with one another. There's no difference between those two. Therefore, we can say the one and many are the same. Understand? A little hard to understand, I think. But anyhow, one and many are not necessarily, opposed.
Maharaj, I think Socrates begins with the argument of like and unlike.
Yes.
Like
1 minute.
there are
1 minute. Krishna Kesha has some idea.
Mentioned about Hegel, it being and non-being.
They're not hearing you.
Yeah, we can hear Maharaj.
You can hear?
Yeah,
Okay.
we hear him.
How Hegel saw being and non-being as the same.
They can hear you.
How Hegel saw being and non-being as the same in the sense that each of them has no differentiation within it. So if it's either pure being or pure non-being, even though immediately it seems that they're opposites, actually the fact that they both are completely undifferentiated within themselves, so you couldn't tell the difference between pure being or pure non-being, that makes them the same.
So that is true. That's from a logical point of view. But we can't distinguish being and non-being. They're both indeterminate, we call it. Indeterminate. Being is quite as empty of determinations as nothing is empty of determinations. And being, pure being, there's nothing determinate. If you say everything is, that doesn't tell you anything about what is. The sun is, the moon is, the tree is, the person is. Everything is, then they're all is. Then how do you distinguish? If is the only qualification you're giving to things, everything is, then you're not distinguishing anything. And if you so it's the same as saying nothing. Nothing also has no determinations. Being, if the only determination is being, then everything you can't distinguish. The tree is and the dog is. Then This is what's you're. Then if you're talking to somebody who hasn't seen either, and you're saying they've seen the same thing, is. Huh?
There are no determination in any.
Haven't determined anything. Then, but as far as one is concerned, there is no discrimination, no determination in one either. If we just say one, 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 that means nothing else but one. Then there's no other determination. Now, if you have many ones, and each one is a one, you also can't distinguish one from the other. Huh? Huh? Yeah, everything you say is one. The tree is one, the dog is one, the monkey is one. Huh? They're all ones. Then no distinction between them. So it's the same as having one, one. Any one, 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 they're the same thing. There's nothing else. In addition, any other quality by which we can speak of things. So in this way, being and one, they have the same type of non-discriminate natures.
So we have a concept of Brahman being pure being, perhaps, and then Nirvana, Buddhism, right, of pure non-being, just void, pure void, being ultimate reality, right? That's their conception. That ultimately nothing is there. It's all nothing, voidism. So that's like pure non-being. But Brahman is that there. It is. Reality is there. It is pure being, but everything is ultimately one. And that the what you were saying, the distinction between things, the determinations, ultimately determination itself is an illusion from that, Mayavad conception. Determination itself is the illusion.
Okay, well, the Brahman is not understood as being by the Mayavads. That would be
consciousness.
Yes, they say consciousness, but being, no, they wouldn't say that. They would give it a more transcendental understanding than being. You want to call it, they call it consciousness. That's not Brahman either. I say Brahman is spirit. If we can understand what spirit is, then that's Brahman. A spirit in a very general sense. Brahman means spirit. Spirit and being are not the same thing. A different concept, Brahman.
Maharaj, the Buddhist, they say that the consciousness itself is an illusion. I mean, everything is happening because of some material, what you can say, illusionary thing. If that is eliminated, then nothing is there. And then Mayavadi say there is only consciousness, but there is no object. I mean, only consciousness there. The one thing. So there is no, what you can say, real major difference there. I mean, only they accept consciousness as one, but that apart from that, there is no experience of any thing, any object in that consciousness.
I don't know, first of all, if there's anywhere in the scriptures where it says that Brahman is consciousness. There's a different word. The Sanskrit word Brahman doesn't mean consciousness.
Yes.
Chitta or Chaitanya, all those words are there for consciousness. But Brahman, it doesn't mean that.
Yes.
The only word that would be appropriate for that is spirit, for Brahman.
What exactly?
And wait 1 minute. The second point is that consciousness without an object is undefined. It's like, what does it mean to see if there's nothing to see? What does it mean? Seeing without anything to see. It has no meaning. So consciousness without anything to be conscious of has no meaning also. Consciousness is the subject-object relation.
Yeah.
Consciousness means to be conscious of something. Otherwise, if there's nothing to be conscious of, how can you say you're conscious?
I was thinking about consciousness and what you were talking about, and um, language takes a huge part in it, because without the language, we don't have these words as a consciousness. And let's say a person who speaks one language suddenly comes to some other country, right? That and he falls sick or whatever, right? And the people around speak a totally different language, so there is miscommunication there. And like, how would the people and this person who is sick define who is conscious? If he is conscious when he is sick, right? The language helps us with that. Words.
I'm not sure what you want to say.
Well, no, I was just thinking, like, even if we are talking right now, we're using a language. Well, just the word consciousness, because I mean, like, it is very, very deep, but it just like, when I was thinking of everything that you were saying, we cannot understand and comprehend what is consciousness if we do not possess the language skills.
Yes, to know what those deeper foundations of consciousness are. It requires knowing something more than just the word consciousness. Like, what is the role of understanding? What is the role of reason? What is the role of dialectics? What is the subject-object? What do they mean? All these things are necessary before we can get into understanding what consciousness is, and any more and any more, what do you want to say, simple terms. Consciousness is a whole complex of things, a whole complex of understanding, and words are involved in explaining it.
Maharaj,
Yes.
what actually that Sripad Krishna Keshav was trying to explain, that in the Buddhism, when they do double negation, they claim it is the void. Means even the notion of void is not there in that. But what Hegel comes to a conclusion, double negation is a true infinity. So it seems that how the logic is working in both cases is a little different. So one comes to spirit, other comes to void. Means he doesn't talk about any determination there. But in Hegel's conception, there are determinations even in the double negation, which is the true infinity.
Well, that means you have to understand that nothing and being are just parts. They're parts of some other thing, other process, where being and nothing are just momentary pieces of something greater than them, those two terms themselves. They have to be understood by a broader concept than being and nothing. That's like something like Zana was saying. It's not sufficient to just speak of being and nothing and then leave it at that. And Hegel explains that those being and nothing, they're not complete ideas in themselves. You can't understand those things properly until you can understand the wider concept that they're part of. And he says that wider concept is called becoming. So once we understand becoming as a movement, as an activity, then what happens in becoming? There, being and nothing appear. Because becoming is being going into nothing and nothing going into being. We can understand becoming only when we understand these two movements. That being becomes nothing and nothing becomes being.
Like the growth of the plant, Maharaj?
Yes. When the plant is growing, then the leaf, the stem becomes a bud, and the bud becomes a rose. So when the stem becomes a bud, then the stem goes into the being of the stem becomes nothing, and it becomes a bud. The bud becomes being. When the bud becomes nothing, then the flower comes. The flower is nothing when the bud has being, but when the bud has no being, the flower is there. Flower has being. So the flower goes from non-being to being, or nothing to being. The stem goes from being to nothing, and then and the nothing of the stem is called the bud. Then the being of the bud, when it becomes nothing, becomes the being of the flower. Right? So there's a constant change between being and nothing going on there. And that whole process is called the becoming of the rose.
Yes, Maharaj.
So being and nothing can't be understood on their own like that. When you put it into the context of becoming, then they become clear what they mean.
And Maharaj,
Is the becoming and the progress there is some relation, Maharaj?
Huh?
Is the becoming and the progress that is being talked?
No, that's a different thing. That's in the and growth and becoming are not the same thing. Growth is another more complex idea. Becoming is the simple idea, abstract idea, but growth is another idea, more complex. What's the matter?
When Zana was saying about we can't even consider consciousness without language, what it brought to mind for me is that you cannot develop, the individual does not have access to the dynamic concept of consciousness without the determinations that make one thought different from another thought, or one word different from another word. So it's inherent in the whole process of saying anything about consciousness. The determination is so inherent because one word, which makes up a whole paragraph of a description of what consciousness is different from any other word. And the determinations between one word, another word, and another word allow for a thought to develop and try to approach the dynamic idea of consciousness. And that is, so how can you say pure being or pure non-being when just by the nature of talking about it, that determination, that process of becoming and differentiation, distinction and meaning is embedded in that. And without that, there's nothing. There's no past, there's no history of development of ideas, there's no future of any ideas developing farther, there's no organized religion, there's no shastra, there's no material science and authors, nothing. It's so inherent to the process. So how can you say it's not, or it's purely one thing or purely the other thing, and deny the synthesis of the process?
So, just like trying to, when you say water, how does water come from hydrogen and oxygen? And we don't know about the more subtle things than not water. How can we talk about H2O? Water is H2O. How do we get to that point? So we can't get beyond water if we only say water. To go deeper, you have to understand. What is this hydrogen? What is oxygen? How do they combine? Even then, we don't really understand. The scientists don't know. How does one gas, a mixture of two gases, produce water? Hydrogen is a gas. Oxygen is a gas. How does water come out of that? But the point is that here, scientific understanding of things requires that you have to go from one step to the next. There has to be some steps involved, and not just say something, and that's it. It's all understood. So consciousness is also composed of many things, comes out of many things. To understand that requires a great deal of study. But
Maharaj, it seems
it's
to
been
me
done. It's been done. The philosophers of mind have done that study scientifically. But we have to study that ourselves if we want to see how consciousness comes out. And it's not just a chemical process, a logical process, but it's not chemical. Where that word comes from, why that word. It's possible to discover those things and study those things. And if you don't, then you come with what the scientists are doing today. They don't know what consciousness is, and they're saying it's quantum mechanics, or it's gravity, or it's electricity.
Maharaj, there is something that Mayavadi says. It is undescribable. It is inconceivable.
Yeah.
They come to this type of words or statements many times, and many people they also say that we have to go to a play at a certain point. We have to go to a state of silence. That's what this. That's their ultimate
That's
conclusion.
their explanation.
But
The
Vaishnava
explanation is we don't know what it is, therefore shut up. Don't talk. Then you'll understand what it is.
Maharaj, I feel in this situation, since everything is a determination, whatever we see is a determination everywhere, in every expression. So it seems to me the ultimate question will be what is or who is determining everything the way everything is. So since determination involves a particular activity.
Determination means thought.
Thought, yes. Ultimately, they are thought determinations.
So there are so many thoughts that go into making up an idea or a concept. So many thoughts are involved. So
like
what are those thoughts? What are those thoughts that are involved?
Like Einstein and Rabindranath Tagore had that dialogue, no Maharaj, you said once. So Einstein was saying, how do you know finite things are there? Because if you remove the consciousness, who knows what is there? Then Rabindranath replied that the finite can be removed, but you cannot say you can remove this chair or whatever objects from the universal consciousness. So in that way, he countered Einstein. So every objective existence or whatever has a relation to the universal consciousness or universal thought.
So you have to know what those thoughts are. To come to the thought of consciousness, you have to know what those thoughts are that brings you to that thought. Consciousness is also a thought. But what are the thoughts that bring you to that thought? They're also there. What are the thoughts that are involved in the thought of consciousness? All those thoughts. To be a philosopher means you have thought through those steps to understand consciousness, to be able to think consciousness, what is required. And you have to know what those things are, what those thoughts are. Then you can develop a philosophy, a philosophical stand. All right?
And the problem is, Maharaj,
yes,
like if you see some waves, sometimes the waves can be misinterpreted as water. They're just some waves, and you feel that is water. So this type of problems that are there in the physical world should also be there in the world of reason, or when it comes to finite trying to attempt that world of reason. So it seems that in everywhere there are some this type of errors, possibility of errors in the judgment of the finite individual. So it must be some another process which is above the finite. That is, it must come from the highest.
Yes.
So, and then seeing capacity also, he cannot develop on his own. That Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhu matta, I am the origin of everything.
So our solution is chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All problems are solved. You've already reached the
Hare Krishna.
conclusion. What you really want to understand is that Krishna. So we can do that. Hare Krishna. Once we do that enough, we'll understand. The whole thing is about him. And we can be happy. All inquiry stops. Haribo!
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Maharaj,
Boy.
this Mayavadis, which they say that we have to ultimately silent, but the Vaishnava says no, it can be described, like the literature and others says. So means they are actively involved with the truth than
Yes,
in the Mayavadis because they are passive in that sense. Ultimate,
yes,
the ultimate,
yes.
reality.
Tadami Buddhi Yogam Dham. Krishna gives his devotees the intelligence to understand all these things. It's a fact. But they have to be a devotee. And Krishna can give these knowledge. And then sometimes devotees doesn't want that either. Not necessary to understand what consciousness is to be a devotee. To be blessed to know Krishna directly. That is a real gift. For those who want to know everything first before they can experience the joy, the bliss, they are not so happy, not so fortunate. Well, for those who can have that bliss without all that other necessity, they are fortunate. Both are nice. When we want to explain to others, of course, as scientists, we have to try to go a little deeper, more detailed. Not for ourselves, but for the others. Otherwise, they won't accept. If you tell them chant Hare Krishna, they'll go away. These people are fanatics. So Prabhupada wanted an academic institute to be established for those who are inquiring about those things, who want to know it in a very scientific way. And scientific in a philosophical sense means that one thought can be expressed and then another by logic. One thought leads to another logically. And to express that is scientific philosophy. Yeah.
If you follow the logic of the Mayavad, when they say ultimately you can't speak of the truth, so stop talking. If you follow the logic, then you also should stop seeing, and then you should stop tasting, and stop feeling things, and stop smelling things, and then you should stop thinking, and you should stop identifying with them. You should just disappear somehow. If you follow your idea of logic. So good luck.
Difficult process. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Thank you very much for your association.
Madhava Maharaj.
Right, Dhanavad Prabhu.
Dandavad Maharaj.
Right.
Pranams Maharaj.
Maharaj,
Jai Vaishnava ki jai.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have shared the link. If anybody wants to join on Monday, we are celebrating Sripad Maharaj's disappearance. I know Rasaraj who cannot join because it's in June, but if some of you like to join, you are most welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, Sripad Maharaj is Srila Swarup Damodar Maharaj. He is the founding director of the Bhaktivedanta Institute. In case not everyone knows who he is. Dhanyavad.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.